Shaka the Zulu King. Whispers of awe and fear spread among the warriors of other tribes, stories whispered in hushed tones of the Zulu warriors under Shaka's command. It was whispered that when the Zulu warriors engaged their adversaries, a transformative power overcame them. Their eyes flickered with an otherworldly intensity, as if they had been unleashed from the realms beyond. In the midst of the chaos, an eerie trance seemed to possess the warriors. They moved with an almost supernatural grace, their movements synchronized as if guided by an invisible hand. Legend spun tales of weapons that shattered upon striking their bodies, as if their very beings were shielded by an impenetrable barrier. It was said that battles were won before they were fought, for their opponents, gripped by terror, would flee at the mere sight of these formidable warriors. The Zulu warriors under Shaka's command adhered to a strict code. No warrior could return from battle with a wound on their back. This wound signified a betrayal of their fellow warriors and a breach of the code of honor. This was seen as an act of cowardice, suggesting that the warrior had turned their back and fled from the fight, forsaking their duty to protect their comrades. The consequences were dire, with death as the ultimate punishment. The story of Shaka began long before this code of honor. Let's go back to the very beginning. When Shaka drew his first breath, the very winds whispered the tale of his lineage, a story intertwined with ambition, loyalty, and an unyielding hunger for power. For his father, Sanzangakona, had been a chief of the Zulu, a man whose might and authority commanded the respect of many. But as fate would have it, when the year 1816 dawned, Sanzangakona took his final breath, leaving behind a kingdom in upheaval. In the wake of Sanzangakona's passing, the mantle of leadership fell upon Shaka's younger half-brother, Sigujana. Shaka's father had multiple wives, as was customary in Zulu culture. The exact number of wives he had is not widely documented, and historical accounts vary. However, it is known that he had several wives who bore him numerous children, including Shaka. Recognizing Shaka's potential as a warrior and leader, Dingiswayo took a keen interest in him. Dingiswayo was the ruler of the Mutetwa kingdom, a powerful neighboring kingdom to the Zulu. Sensing an opportunity to solidify his own authority, Dingiswayo provided Shaka with a regiment of his own soldiers, allowing Shaka to challenge his brother's rule. With the borrowed strength of the Mutetwa warriors, Shaka seized the opportunity that fate had placed before him. He marched boldly, his forces aligned with a singular purpose: to overthrow his brother and claim the throne that he believed was rightfully his. In the end, Shaka's coup was swift. His brother fell, a victim of Shaka's calculated maneuverings. The Zulu people were astonished by the audacity and might of this young warrior. A year later, Dingiswayo fell in battle, and Shaka was devastated. Dingiswayo's demise at the hands of Zwidere, the powerful chief of the Ndwandwe nation, left a void in the leadership of the Mutetwa kingdom. In the aftermath, the Mutetwa forces were scattered and temporarily defeated. Seizing the opportunity that arose, Shaka swiftly filled the power vacuum. He reorganized the remnants of the Mutetwa warriors, and formed alliances with neighboring tribes who shared his desire to resist Zwidere's growing dominance. With unwavering determination, Shaka led his reformed Mutetwa alliance into battle against Zwidere's forces with resounding victory. This victory marked a turning point in Shaka's rise to power, and laid the foundation for the Zulu kingdom's expansion and influence in subsequent years. In his personal life, Shaka harbored a deep aversion to the prospect of fathering a legitimate heir, a fear that shaped his approach to relationships. He chose not to marry, and any women discovered to be carrying his child met a grim fate, condemned to execution. Shaka implemented rigorous measures among his troops, which included a ban on marriage regardless of age. He believed that marital entanglements would diminish the warrior's prowess on the battlefield, asserting that he was safeguarding them from the perceived perils inherent in marriage. Consequently, his households were not defined by wives, but rather by stern senior women of the royal lineage, who held sway and authority. In Shaka's absence, the responsibilities of governance fell to a partnership between the female ruler of the settlement and an induna, typically a favored confidant of the king. News reached Shaka of an impending threat. A formidable enemy force, composed of white Boer settlers and their African allies, gathered with the intent to claim Zulu lands. The Zulu kingdom stood on the precipice of a devastating confrontation, and Shaka, ever the fierce defender of his people, took up the mantle of leadership. The battle was about to commence, and in this crucible of conflict, the fate of the Zulu kingdom would be decided. To face this imminent threat, Shaka had to unite various tribes that had once been adversaries. Through a combination of diplomacy, charisma, and strategic planning, he convinced the neighboring tribes to set aside their differences and join forces in the face of a shared enemy. As Shaka stepped onto the scene, a palpable energy enveloped the battlefield. His presence commanded attention, his aura radiated with a mix of regal authority and unwavering determination. Tall and imposing, he stood with an air of confidence, his gaze piercing and unwavering, as if peering into the very souls of his warriors. Every word that escaped his lips carried a weight, resonating with a clarity that stirred the hearts of those who listened. His voice, steady and commanding, cut through the air, reaching the farthest corners of the battlefield. "Warriors of the Zulu nation, hear my words." Shaka spoke with a booming voice. "Today, we stand on the precipice of a battle that will shape the destiny of our people. The winds of war blow fiercely, and our enemies gather, believing they can claim our lands and subdue our spirits. But I say to you, my warriors, that they underestimate the strength that flows through our veins, the fire that burns in our hearts. We are the descendants of great warriors who have walked this land before us. Our traditions, our culture, our very existence is at stake, and we shall defend it with every fiber of our being. Look around you, my brethren. See the faces of your comrades, the brothers who stand united by our common purpose. Each of us carries the weight of our history, the honor of our people. It is this collective strength, this unbreakable bond, that will guide us through the trials that lie ahead. Our enemies may wield weapons of a different kind, but we possess a power that surpasses their guns and cannons. It is the power of unity, of unwavering loyalty to our cause. We have trained and fought side by side, honing our skills, sharpening our resolve. We have become a force that cannot be underestimated. Today, we fight not only for our land but for the freedom to exist as a people, to honor the traditions of our ancestors, and to ensure a future for generations to come. Today, we forge our legacy, and the world shall witness the might of the Zulu nation. Onward, my warriors. March with courage, fight with honor, and let this battle be remembered as the day the Zulu warriors emerged victorious against all odds. As the war cry reverberated through the air, Shaka concluded his speech, his voice resonating with a potent mix of passion and authority. The warriors, their spirits ignited, felt an indomitable fire burning within their chests. They stood taller, their postures straightened, and their eyes blazed with newfound determination. Shaka's words had stirred something deep within them, awakening a sense of purpose and unity that transcended their individuality. In that moment, they became more than mere soldiers. They became an embodiment of the Zulu spirit. The battlefield pulsated with an electrifying energy as the Zulu warriors surged forward, their footsteps thundering in unison. The ground trembled beneath their feet, resonating with the weight of their purpose. Amidst the chaos, Shaka's presence remained a steady anchor. He led from the front, his eyes focused and unwavering, his every move calculated with precision. The Zulu warriors advanced in their iconic cow horn formation, a testament to their strategic prowess. The center formed a solid line, standing resolute like the chest of a mighty beast, while the flanks fanned out, ready to encircle and overwhelm their foes. The formation allowed for swift maneuverability, granting them the advantage of surprise and devastating flanking attacks. The battle roared to life as Zulu spears clashed against the enemy's weaponry. Warriors fought with unparalleled ferocity, their bodies moving in a seamless dance of attack and defense. They moved as a singular entity, each warrior attuned to the movements of their brethren, anticipating the needs of their comrades without a single word uttered. The air became thick with dust and the metallic tang of blood, but the Zulu warriors pressed on, their spirits unyielding. The enemy, in the face of the Zulu onslaught, faltered, their defenses buckling under the relentless assault. Through sheer tenacity and unwavering unity, the Zulu warriors had turned the tide of battle. Their coordinated attacks dismantled the enemy's formations, sowing confusion and disarray. In the heart of the battlefield, Shaka fought with the strength of 100 men. His spear danced with deadly precision, finding its mark with each strike. His presence inspired those around him, igniting a fire within their souls. As the sun began its descent, the Zulu warriors emerged victorious. The battlefield was strewn with fallen foes, their defeat etched into the very soil upon which they had sought to conquer. Amidst the triumph, there was a solemn acknowledgement of the cost paid for victory. The fallen warriors were mourned, their sacrifice a testament of their bravery and courage. In the later years of Shaka's reign, a dark cloud of power descended upon him, consuming his once noble spirit. The seeds of discontent had taken root within his own family, as his half-brothers, Dingane and Muthlangana, plotted against him, seeking to seize the throne. Shaka's grip on reality began to unravel, exacerbated by the devastating loss of his beloved mother, Nandi. Consumed by grief and driven by a distorted sense of mourning, he unleashed a wave of erratic behavior that sent shockwaves through the land. He ordered the cessation of crop planting, plunging his people into the depths of hunger and despair. Milk, the lifeblood of the Zulu diet, was forbidden, leaving his subjects weakened and malnourished. Shaka decreed that any woman who became pregnant should be executed along with her husband. The land was plagued with an atmosphere of terror and death as thousands of people, deemed insufficiently grief-stricken, fell victim to his merciless reign. The rivers of Zulu blood flowed alongside the tears of those who mourned their loved ones. Power had corrupted Shaka, turning him into a tyrant who ruled with an iron fist. And so, it was amidst this atmosphere that Shaka met his demise. The conspirators struck when the opportunity presented itself, exploiting the absence of the Zulu manpower sent on a mass sweep to the north. Dingane, Muthlangana, and the cunning Indunambopa orchestrated a diversion, diverting attention away from their true intentions. In a moment of vulnerability, Shaka fell victim to the fatal blows inflicted by his own kin. The life force that had once coursed through his veins was extinguished, leaving behind a void in the heart of the Zulu nation. His body was callously discarded, dumped in an empty grain pit. The exact location of his burial site remains a mystery, lost to the annals of time. However, a monument stands as a testament to the enigmatic legacy of a leader whose journey was marred by both triumph and tragedy. Shaka, the once mighty warrior, had succumbed to the very darkness he had sought to conquer. The Zulu nation mourned the loss of a leader who had shaped their history, forever haunted by the shadow of a man who had been both hero and tyrant. Thank you for watching our story, Shaka the Zulu King, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time, in the Savannah.